Disney just nose planted remarkably with Snow White.
To everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her.
All these studios have to stop letting their actors loose. I mean, honestly, just shut your actors up.
And Snow White and how it totally imploded at the box office this weekend, it was so delicious.
Snow White bombs, breaks records for the lowest live-action remake opening ever.
When does Snow White come out? Right, it's soon,
They delayed it for 2 years.
I know, and it's going to fail cataclysmically.
I think so too. I think
I watched some of the previews. It's ugly as sin.
Disney's latest disaster isn't just another flop. It's a full-blown cultural meltdown. Rachel Zegler's woke Snow White comments didn't just backfire, they've sparked outrage so intense that even Jordan Peterson couldn't stay silent. Fans are furious, Disney's reputation is crumbling, and the entire franchise might be on the brink of collapse. So what went so horribly wrong? And why is everyone from casual viewers to cultural commentators calling this the final straw for Disney's woke agenda? Let's break it all down. It started with a single interview. Rachel Zegler, the face of Disney's Snow White remake, dismissed the original as outdated and creepy. But instead of sparking applause, her words unleashed a firestorm. Fans accused her of disrespecting a beloved classic. Critics slammed Disney for pandering to woke narratives. And Jordan Peterson? He's tearing this entire mess apart. This isn't just about one movie, it's about a growing rebellion against Hollywood's obsession with rewriting tradition. And trust me, the fallout is bigger than you think. Disney has spent the last decade cashing in on nostalgia, turning their animated classics into live-action remakes that rake in billions. From The Lion King to Aladdin, these films have been surefire hits, even if they didn't always win over critics. But with Snow White, Disney made a catastrophic misstep, and it all boils down to their choice of Rachel Zegler, a polarizing, untrained, and unapologetically woke actress. This time, the magic formula backfired spectacularly, and Disney is paying the price.
Disney's new Snow White finally came out last week, and to put it mildly, my friends, this has been a colossal mess. Like, I literally found myself feeling bad for them.
The moment the Snow White remake was announced, fans were skeptical. But when Rachel Zegler started speaking about the project, skepticism turned into full-blown outrage. In interviews, she dismissed the original 1937 classic, created by Walt Disney himself, as strange and outdated. She called the prince a stalker and suggested that his character could be cut out entirely without affecting the story. For many fans, this wasn't just reimagining, it was a direct attack on the beloved piece of cinematic history.
The thing they spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had. Even the one that was their worst, Dumbo, did better than this has done.
Please stop changing all of the historic plots which actually have meaning to generations of people.
Zegler's comments didn't just alienate die-hard Disney fans, they ignited a cultural firestorm. The backlash wasn't just about her words, it was about what they represented, a perceived disregard for tradition and an obsession with modernizing at all costs. By trying to rewrite Snow White into something unrecognizable, Disney didn't just lose the plot, they lost their audience. And now with the franchise teetering on the brink of disaster, it's clear that this gamble has become one of Disney's biggest mistakes yet. Enter Jordan Peterson, the cultural critic who saw this disaster coming from miles away. Peterson has been vocal about Disney's decline for years, warning that their obsession with ideological messaging was eroding the quality of their content. And now with Snow White, his predictions have hit a boiling point. This isn't just another bad movie, it's a symptom of a much bigger problem.
Disney just nose planted remarkably with Snow White.
Peterson has often pointed out that Disney's magic lay in its ability to craft timeless stories rooted in universal archetypes, stories that resonated with audiences across generations. But in recent years, he's argued, the company has traded this timelessness for shallow, politically charged narratives that alienate their core audience. According to Peterson, Snow White is the perfect example of what happens when ideology overtakes storytelling.
There is nothing uglier than woke illustrations. They're so talentless. It must be the fact that The people without talent rely on their political credibility to advance.
Maybe,
right?
and also
because their talent alone won't do it.
And let's be honest, he's not wrong. The backlash against Snow White didn't come out of nowhere. Disney's decision to cast Rachel Zegler and allow her to publicly trash the original film was like pouring gasoline on an already smoldering fire. Peterson has described this as a betrayal of Disney's legacy, noting that Walt Disney himself would have never approved of such drastic alterations to his original vision. The numbers don't lie either. With Snow White earning far less than its bloated $250 million budget, it's clear that audiences are rejecting this new direction en masse. As Peterson put it, Disney didn't just make a bad movie, they made a cultural statement that nobody wanted to hear. And now, the entire franchise is paying the price for it.
The film cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make, even more to promote, and it only brought in $43 million domestically in its first weekend.
This fiasco isn't just about one movie, it's about the crumbling trust between Disney and its audience. As Peterson predicted, when you abandon quality storytelling for divisive messaging, you lose the very thing that made your brand iconic in the first place.
From top critics, 29%. From all audience members, 19%. Every single one of these reviews is just absolutely brutal. The film is apparently just that bad.
Rachel Zegler didn't just stir the pot, she poured gasoline on the fire before Snow White even hit theaters. In her relentless campaign to reframe the classic, she managed to alienate Disney's core audience and spark outrage across the internet. Her comments weren't just controversial, they were outright dismissive of the original film's legacy, and fans weren't having it.
This woman is extraordinarily woke, as everyone is in Hollywood, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
Their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable, told all Trump supporters that they could off, excuse me, but she did. That was just in November. They didn't even know she was going to do that one. Said she hated Snow White.
Let's start with her infamous interview with Entertainment Weekly, where Zegler declared that the 1937 animated classic was extremely dated and criticized its portrayal of women. She claimed that Snow White needed to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before becoming a leader, completely rewriting the character's essence. She also took aim at the prince, calling him a stalker and suggesting his role could be cut entirely without affecting the story. These remarks didn't set well with fans who cherished the original film as a cornerstone of Disney's legacy, a timeless tale of love, bravery, and innocence.
Over Rachel Zegler is even worse, where she is a Hispanic actress playing Snow White, which is a character designed to be German. Unlike Halle Bailey, who was very good in interviews, Rachel Zegler isn't, where she's done things like call the prince in the original Snow White a stalker.
But Zegler didn't stop there. In subsequent interviews, she doubled down on her stance, describing her version of Snow White as a modern leader who dreams of ruling a kingdom rather than finding true love. While this might sound empowering on paper, fans saw it as an unnecessary overhaul of a beloved story. The backlash was swift and brutal, with many accusing Zegler of disrespecting Walt Disney's vision and alienating generations of viewers who grew up with the original film. In an interview with EW, she said, "The reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman had stood for in the world. And so when it came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all. Meaning, who is the most just, and who can become a fantastic leader. And the reality is, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom." The internet exploded with criticism, branding Zegler as tone-deaf and self-entitled. Even Disney loyalists couldn't defend her comments, which seemed to undermine everything that made Snow White iconic in the first place.
Video is gonna get taken out of context, and I know that at this point I can't really stop people from doing that because that's what my whole existence on the internet is just me being taken out of context. And
branding experts weighed in, suggesting that Zegler's remarks had done irreparable damage to the film's reputation before it even premiered. Carla Spate, a noted PR strategist, pointed out that Disney had fallen into the trap of pushing extreme messaging under the guise of empowerment, a move that backfired spectacularly. Things have been looking rough for the success of the live-action Snow White film, which has not even come out yet, nor has one trailer or any real previews. The hatred has been unprecedented, and it may lead to Disney's decision to do something unprecedented, pull the film entirely. And here's where Disney truly dropped the ball. Instead of addressing the backlash head-on or reconsidering their approach, they doubled down on their decision to release this colossal mess to the public. The result? Even audiences who lean left politically couldn't get behind this remake. It wasn't just conservatives or traditionalists calling foul. It was everyone who felt that Disney had crossed a line by disrespecting its own legacy.
I think it's fair to say that no one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Rumors began swirling in 2023 that Zegler's outspoken comments had caused internal debates within Disney, with insiders speculating that her controversial viewpoints might have delayed or even jeopardized the film's release altogether. One insider revealed that Disney executives were scrambling to salvage what little goodwill remained, with some even considering pulling the film entirely, a move unprecedented for such a high-budget project. In hindsight, it's clear why this backlash was so intense. Zegler didn't just criticize Snow White, she tore apart everything fans loved about it, while presenting herself as its savior. And instead of listening to their audience, Disney pushed forward with a product nobody wanted, a soulless remake wrapped in loaded messaging that alienated viewers across the board. If this fiasco proves anything, it's that rewriting tradition for ideological brownie points is a recipe for disaster. And Rachel Zegler did all the work herself to ensure this film would fail spectacularly.
Women can't even want to be in love anymore. That's some outdated construct. Oh, that was back in the 30s when women actually wanted to be around men, actually wanted to be in love.
The backlash against Disney's Snow White remake reached a fever pitch when David Hand, the son of the supervising director of the original 1937 classic, voiced his disapproval. In a scathing critique, Hand didn't mince words, calling the new film a complete departure from the timeless charm his father and Walt Disney meticulously crafted. He accused Disney of disrespecting the original vision, stating, "It's a whole different concept, and I just totally disagree with it. My dad and Walt would be turning in their graves." What makes this situation even more tragic is how avoidable it all was. David Hand's insights highlight a glaring issue. Disney seems to have forgotten what made their classic resonate in the first place: timeless stories told with heart and authenticity. Instead of respecting their legacy, they've chosen to rewrite it, leaving fans disillusioned and critics unimpressed. In hindsight, Hand's words perfectly encapsulate why this remake has been such a disaster. There's no respect for what Disney did, and with Snow White flopping at the box office and facing near-universal backlash, it's clear that audiences agree. This isn't just about one movie, it's about a company losing touch with its roots while trying to chase trends. And if Disney doesn't course-correct soon, they might find themselves stuck in an era where nostalgia no longer works in their favor.
If she never opened her mouth and she didn't do all this nonsense, people would have gone and watched the movie. They would have made their money, but then people would have been disappointed after the math. Like, why are you talking? Like, I have a quick.
Rachel Zegler's relationship with Snow White has been nothing short of chaotic, and her constant flip-flopping on whether she loves, hates, or simply finds the original creepy has only added fuel to the fire. Her inconsistencies have become a hallmark of her public persona, perfectly in line with the over-the-top wokeness she's been criticized for.
This happened when Rachel Zegler was in an interview with Jimmy Kimmel and was asked if she ever goes on the Snow White ride at Disneyland. Rachel Zegler responded saying she does go to Disneyland all the time, goes on the Snow White ride, and is mobbed by people asking for photos with her. The issue was a previous interview with Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot proved she was lying, where she said she's only been on the Snow White ride once and found it scary, so she never went back. Unlike the interview with Jimmy Fallon where she said she loved Snow White, in the Gal Gadot interview she said she only saw it once as a kid and didn't really care for it.
In one interview, Zegler called the original 1937 Snow White extremely dated and criticized its portrayal of women as passive characters dependent on men. She labeled the prince a stalker and described the love story as weird, adding that her rendition of Snow White wouldn't dream of true love, but instead focus on becoming a leader. Yet, in an Instagram post meant to pay homage to Adriana Casalletti, the original voice of Snow White, Zegler posed in a curly bob hairstyle with a red bow, captioning it, "Just had to pay homage to the original Snow White, Miss Adriana Casalletti, to whom I owe everything." Fans were quick to call out the glaring contradiction. How can someone who openly disrespected the original film suddenly turn around and pay tribute to it? One commenter summed it up perfectly. "Really? You want to pay homage now, after all the nasty stuff you've said about her film? Too little, too late." Another pointed out the hypocrisy. So you can pay homage to her looks, but can't respect her story? Kind of contradicts your modern feminist perspective, doesn't it? Rachel Zegler's comments about Snow White and her outspoken political stances have significantly strained her relationship with Disney. creating a public relations nightmare for the studio. The controversy deepened when Zegler's social media activity, including a pro-Palestinian tweet, caused further issues. This post not only drew political backlash, but also led to threats against her co-star Gal Gadot, prompting Disney to increase security measures for Gadot. Insiders reported that producer Mark Platt flew to New York to address the situation directly with Zegler, asking her to delete the post. But she refused. This defiance reportedly worsened tensions between Zegler and Disney executives. As a result of these controversies, Disney took steps to limit Zegler's public exposure. Her media appearances were tightly controlled, and interactions with Gadot were minimized to essential promotional activities like the film's premiere. Despite these efforts, Snow White underperformed at the box office, grossing just $87 million worldwide against its $270 million budget, a failure many attribute to Zegler's polarizing statements and their impact on the film's marketing. And the main giveaway of that measure was the all-fake apology that Rachel posted on her Instagram.
On the right, we have the Rachel Zegler post. This is her actual post. No capital letters. Punctuation is horrendous. I mean, that's something that a high school dropout wrote. A Rachel Zegler, a Ray type individual. That's something that they would write. On the left here, it starts off with a capital letter. There's proper punctuation. They're using the periods at the end. I mean, it looks professional. And the reason why is because most likely that was written out by a handler or a manager for Rachel Zegler, and she was forced to apologize.
Experts have criticized Disney for failing to manage Zegler effectively. Branding professionals noted that her unfiltered remarks alienated audiences and damaged the film's prospects. Some even suggested that Disney's decision to push extreme messaging through its stars backfired spectacularly in this case. While Zegler remains active in other projects, her relationship with Disney appears irreparably damaged, with insiders speculating that her contract is unlikely to be renewed once it expires. Disney's Snow White remake hasn't just been a creative disaster, it's shaping up to be one of the studio's most expensive missteps in recent history. Despite its $270 million production budget and an additional $140 million spent on marketing, the film has struggled to gain traction at the box office, earning just $143 million globally as of its second weekend. This colossal failure highlights a growing trend. Audiences are rejecting woke reimaginings of beloved classics, and Disney is bearing the brunt of this cultural shift. The financial breakdown is staggering. To break even, Snow White needed to gross at least $427.8 million globally, but projections suggest it will fall far short of that mark. Analysts estimate the film will incur losses of up to $115 million, making it one of Disney's most significant box office bombs since Dumbo 2019 and The Little Mermaid 2023. And while Disney has historically relied on post-theatrical revenue streams like streaming, merchandise sales, and theme park tie-ins to recoup losses, experts argue that the damage done by Snow White may be too deep to recover fully. This failure isn't just about numbers, it's emblematic of a broader issue plaguing Hollywood. The phrase "go woke, go broke" has become a rallying cry among critics who see films like Snow White as prioritizing ideological messaging over quality storytelling. Disney's decision to modernize Snow White into a girl boss leader while sidelining traditional themes like love and kindness alienated audiences across the political spectrum. Even left-leaning viewers criticized the film for feeling preachy and hollow, proving that Disney's attempt to appeal to modern sensibilities has backfired spectacularly.
Not only have they lost millions of dollars, but they've also lost millions of subscribers on Disney Plus, their streaming platform. And to me, I don't think they're really in with what their consumers are really wanting to watch on the platform.
Jordan Peterson's critique of Hollywood fits perfectly into this narrative. He has long argued that stories grounded in archetypes and timeless values resonate more deeply with audiences. By abandoning these principles in favor of shallow virtue signaling, Disney has not only tarnished its legacy, but also jeopardized its financial future. Peterson's philosophy underscores why Snow White failed. It lacked the emotional depth and universal appeal that made the original a classic.
Snow White bombs, breaks records for the lowest live-action remake opening ever.
When does Snow White come out? Right, it's
They
soon,
delayed
right?
it for 2 years.
I know, and it's going to fail cataclysmically.
I think so too. I think
I watched some of the previews. It's ugly as sin.
Adding insult to injury, Disney's promotional efforts for Snow White were unusually subdued, with advance ticket sales starting less than 2 weeks before release. a clear sign of the studio's lack of confidence in the project. Industry insiders describe Disney's approach as going through the motions, almost as if they were resigned to the film's inevitable failure. So what do you think? Is Snow White the wake-up call Disney desperately needed? Or is it just another nail in the coffin for their woke era? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated on more Hollywood controversies and cultural shifts, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Join the conversation now.